Hey guys, Mike Dillard here, and welcome to the second video in our Build Your Business, Build Your Wealth, Live Your Dream series. You know, when we started our story yesterday in video number one, I just packed my bags after college and driven to California to mentor with my friend Stu. I'd moved into a $300 per month apartment, and I had my big goal of making $50,000 a month posted on the wall right next to my computer. And it was the opportunity of a lifetime, but unfortunately, that chapter in my life didn't have the fairy tale ending that I, hoped it would. In fact, I was still broke and working full-time at Best Buy selling computers just to pay my rent. And within 4 months, I'd be forced to move back to Texas and get a job in corporate America. Now, fast forward about 4 years from that point, I actually found myself waiting tables at a local P.F. Chang's at the age of 25. And despite my complete lack of results and all of those setbacks, I hadn't given up still. And with every failure, I gained more and more experience and really more and more determination. And somehow, some way, slowly but surely, I started to move forward, step by step, brick by brick. And I honestly have no idea how much I was making at the time, but my business had started to make money. It was, I'd say, probably $500 a month, maybe $1,000 a month. But after years of all of these lessons learned the hard way, I started to see light at the end of the tunnel. My confidence continued to grow by the week. And frankly, the stench of clothing covered in sweat and Chinese food as I entered my car every night at 2 a.m. Grew more and more sickening with every new dollar that my business made. And I don't really remember the exact catalyst of what pushed me to this point, but one day I remember reaching kind of that magical moment where the pain of staying where I was finally greater than the fear of failing where I was headed. And that was either a Saturday or a Sunday weekend. It was a lunch shift, I remember that. And as I put on my black pair of Dickies pants and my starched white shirt and those absolutely horrendous shoes made just for waiters that restaurants make you wear these days, I did something out of the ordinary. I walked into my closet and I grabbed a backpack and I put a fresh pair of jeans in it and a pair of leather boots and a white t-shirt. And that day, another long lunch shift began the same way that they always did, but how it ended was very, very different. As my shift came to an end, I clocked out, walked over to my car, grabbed my bag, and after changing clothes in the bathroom, I walked onto the floor to find my manager. And I can't remember his full name. I remember his first name was David, tall, slender guy, dark hair, glasses. He was one of the best managers that I'd ever worked for in a restaurant, and he was super nice, super professional, and really on a mission to work his way up, the corporate ladder for that parent company. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, David, it's been a pleasure, but this was going to be my last shift. I'm going to pursue my business full time." And I was holding my dirty work clothes in my hands, and that's when he said something that I'll never forget. And he said, "I understand, Mike, but you should hold on to these in case things don't work out. That home business stuff that you've told me about is, a dream for a lot of people, and I'll bet you'll be back here within a couple of weeks." And I said back to him, "Actually, no, I'll never be here again." And I took my uniform and I placed it into the trash can. I pointed over to a table on the patio and I said, "I'm going to go have lunch here today as a customer, and I'll start with a cold beer, please." And that was obviously the best tasting beer I'd ever had in my life. I sat there for a few hours saying goodbye to the rest of the staff and answering all of their questions about my plans, and I'm sure some of them thought I was absolutely nuts and some crazy dreamer, but that's fine. Not everybody is really cut from a cloth to be a risk taker and an entrepreneur. So the conclusion to the story is interesting. It turns out David was right. I did come back, but it was not to work for him. It was actually in a brand new Aston Martin and to have dinner. So within 18 months, after 5 or 6 years of setbacks, I finally made that transition, and I went from waiting tables to reaching not only my lifetime goal of making $50,000 in a month, but that business would go on to make over $6 million in a year, and since then it's gone on to make over $25 million. So what happened during that 18-month period that allowed me to achieve those massive results after so many years of failure? Well, in the beginning, I was looking for a magic system or a ground floor opportunity that would make me money. I thought it was the opportunity or the product or the marketing system that would bring me the results that I wanted. And in short, I was looking outside of myself for success. I wanted to find a way to get rich that would cater to my weaknesses so that I wouldn't have to do the work that I really needed to do in order to become the person I needed to be that was capable of getting those results. So what I realized during this period changed everything for me. And what I'm about to share with you is really the one and only way out there, period, to achieve the success that you want in your business or in any aspect of your life. And what it comes down to is this. The amount of money that you make today is a direct reflection of something I call your PVL, or personal value level. So human society uses a very simple tool called money to quickly and easily communicate the relative value of everything from an apple to a gallon of gasoline to the wage for a job. And through our free market system, the world basically gets to dictate how much money you make according to three different factors. So the first one, and you're probably going to want to write these down, is the number of people who are also capable of performing a particular job. In other words, competition. So go ahead and skip to a new sheet here. The second factor is the amount of specialized skills or education that you would need to perform that job, or really your level of expertise or education. So I'm going to put expertise. And the third one is the amount of people around the world that your work is going to benefit or impact. And so for that, we're going to call that leverage. All right, so for example, there are two reasons why restaurant waiters, let's say janitors, or retail workers make such a low wage on average. Well, as a waiter, let's look at factor number one. There's an almost endless supply of workers who can fill that position, right? There's a ton of competition. Why? Because of number two, waiting tables doesn't require any rare or specialized skills or specialized education that you have to go to or pay for. So basically anybody can do the job. And then factor number three, you're only serving maybe 12 to 15 people at any given time, which means you have basically no leverage. So if you're in one of these positions, your PVL to the world is really very low, which is why you're not making that much money. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, let's take a brain surgeon, for example. Let's say they make about $1 million a year, and that's because, one, there's not a lot of competition. There's very few qualified individuals in the world that are able to perform that task. Two, the work requires a ton of extremely specialized knowledge and skills and over 10 years of schooling. But when you get to number three, that's where things kind of fall off the bus. You can only perform brain surgery on one person at a time, so there's really no way to benefit the masses. There's very little leverage. So the reason that a brain surgeon makes about $1 million a year instead of, let's say, $20 million a year is because they're missing that piece of the puzzle. All right, so now let's take a third example and let's look at my first business, magnetic sponsoring. Factor number one, competition. Are there many people who can write a book based on years of personal experience out there on any subject matter? Well, no, not really. There's only, in my world, a few thousand people, I would say, in the United States who have successfully sold more than $50 million in products, online from their business. So very little competition. Does online marketing require specialized skills? Obviously, yes. And these skills are not taught in school. You can't really go to college for them. They can only be learned by those who proactively seek out, training like this that you're consuming today. So that's definitely in my favor. And then number three, leverage. Does that business model provide me with the ability to impact the masses? And obviously the answer is yes. So if I were teaching people how to market online, let's say one-on-one over the phone or in person or maybe at a workshop over the weekend at a hotel, I'd have very, very little leverage. But because I sell books and videos, which can be mass produced and distributed to an infinite number of people around the world, I have an infinite amount of leverage. So as you can see, my job waiting tables had a very low PVL to the world, where my job as a modern day educator or teacher using technology to reach the masses has an extremely high PVL. One job pays about $30,000 a year, the other job pays millions of dollars per year, yet the number of hours worked on a daily basis is basically the same. So, that brings us hopefully to the question in your head, well, how do you increase your PVL? The good part is that answer is really simple. The fastest way to reach incredible levels of success in your life and in your business is to increase your value to the world. And the fastest way to increase your value to the world is to acquire new skills. So after I kind of had this big epiphany and I realized this years ago, I really became a man on a mission. I spent every dime that I could on information courses, on books. I went and learned marketing skills that other people were unwilling to do. And in the process, I became extremely valuable to other people. So which skills should you focus on? Which are the most valuable? Well, if your goal is to build a successful business, you need the skill or ability to acquire customers and sell your products or services. It really, frankly, doesn't matter if you're a dentist or an author or a graphics artist or a photographer. If you don't know how to get customers and sell your products, you're basically screwed right from the beginning. So the most valuable skill that you can acquire and the skill that can provide you with the most leverage is how to sell. And when I say sell, I don't mean the used car salesman type of selling, you know, where I'm trying to twist your arm or manipulate you into buying something that you really don't want to buy. I'm talking about the complete opposite of that. And really in the last decade, it's been referred to as attraction marketing. And that's having the skill or the ability to attract prospects to you and then take them through a marketing process that will result in the purchase of your product or your service because they want to buy it. It's their idea and not because you twisted their arm or something like that. So that's in fact what my very first book, Magnetic Sponsoring, was all about. And another great resource out there too that I'd highly recommend you pick up is Dan Kennedy's Magnetic Marketing. And obviously that was the inspiration for the name of my book. And Dan's a mentor of mine and an absolute genius when it comes to this stuff, so definitely read that. Now at the end of the day, here's the lesson that I want you to take away from this. If you want to make more money, you've got to make yourself more valuable to the world. The fastest way to do that is to acquire new skills by investing in yourself and your education. And personally, I spend over $100,000 per year on books, courses, conferences, mastermind groups, and events just to maintain a high level of value to my customers and, you know, to my viewers like you guys. So, you know, it's funny, without exception, the most successful entrepreneurs that I've ever seen or hung out with or studied under, you know, the ones with the biggest bank accounts and the biggest businesses also happen to have the biggest personal libraries. And they don't stop learning when they reach their goal. They do the exact opposite, just like I did. They start to spend more and more and more on their education to just keep moving their level of value to the world higher and higher. And this realization was the turning point in my career, and it will absolutely be the turning point in your career as well. So I hope this made sense for you. I hope you found some value in it. And that's going to really bring us on to part number 3, which is another one of the most common questions that I get, which is, you know, Mike, what kind of business should I start? Should I get into affiliate marketing or internet marketing or network marketing or maybe even open a retail store? Well, stay tuned because I'm actually going to give you the answer, and I'm going to walk you through the exact same process that I've used to choose what kind of businesses I should start, which model I should use for those businesses, and it's a pretty cool process that I can't wait to take you through. So once again, thanks for your time. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, connect with me via social media, and obviously please feel free to share this video with your colleagues if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow for part number 3.